right, Josh Rubin with the Rubin team. Let's take a look. Hi guys, it's Josh Rubin live from New York with my good friend Lori McGuire. And today, Wednesday, October 12th, 2022. Lori, how's it going out there on the West Coast?
Oh, it's amazing. The weather is a little strange with thunderstorms and stuff like that last night, but it's incredible.
And they say it never rains out there, but here we are with a little bit of weather. Nevertheless, it's beautiful here in New York City. And I'm so happy that you can join us today, Lori, because your story is one of incredible inspiration. You took off like a lightning bolt, and then you had some challenges, and you kind of had to rebuild there. So, Lori, why don't you take us back to the very, very beginning when you first got the inclination and inspiration to get into real estate? What was it that made you do that?
Oh, sure. Yes. Well, I got into real estate at the age of 23. And my Aunt Kathy she still is a real estate broker in a small town called Ridgecrest in California. It's where a naval weapons center is.
Uh-huh.
And I was living in Long Beach, California, metropolitan area. And I was in college majoring in business, but I was kind of in and out of college and was dating the wrong type of people. And she just said, Lori, you'd be great in real estate. Just give me 2 years and move to this small town and dedicate yourself. And so I said I would do it. And I promised her I'd give her the 2 years. And there was only about 20,000 people, at least back then, in Ridgecrest. And I knew I had to give it my all. So because I gave that commitment to my Aunt Kathy, who I really admired a lot, and I still do. So when I moved up there, of course, I passed the test and everything. And I made sure I was always the first one in the office at 7 a.m. And I was always the last one to leave because I felt I needed to prove myself. The average age in the office was about 40 years old. And just to make myself look older, I would wear glasses, fake glasses and everything. And my Aunt Kathy taught me a very valuable lesson. She said, Lori, I am never going to give you a lead. And she would always give the other realtors leads, but she would never give me a lead. But she said, I never want you to feel that you have been successful because of me. You can do it on your own. And just one other thing I'm going to say about my Aunt Kathy. She had me sit in a cubicle right outside her office, and she'd have the door open, and I would listen to her all the time. And there would be people coming into the office, and they'd be really upset with their realtors about something. And they would come in, and by the time they left her office, they'd be hugging her. And she just has a way with people that she really, really cares. And I vowed that I would always be that type of realtor. I would never be a barracuda in the business. I would always make things a win-win and have a lot of empathy for people. So from there, I became, one of the top realtors in Kern County within 2 years. And it's because of my work ethic. And I would door knock just about every day. I held open houses all the time. And this is in weather where it was like 115 degrees.
Right.
But I was really eager to prove myself. And there was nothing to do in Kern County. I mean, not Kern County as a general, but in Ridgecrest. Mm-hmm. So within 2 years, I was invited to go to this Coldwell Banker Elite Retreat. And there I met Mike Ferry, of course, a major speaker. Yep. And then he found out I was selling about 70 homes a year, my second year in the business. And then he invited me to the Superstar Retreat, and I got up on stage and just told people what I did. And then I said, well, I promised my Aunt Kathy I would only be here for 2 years, and then I'm going to be moving to another metropolitan area. Well, by the time I came back, I had about 8 flower displays, gift baskets from brokers all over the country. It was really amazing. So within a month, I moved to Orange County, and I had everything paid for, the move, everything. So to make a long story short, within my first week of moving to Orange County, I sold my first home, and the average price in Ridgecrest was $65,000 for a home, and the first home I sold in Orange County was $400,000. So there was a
Wow.
big jump in real estate.
So,
And
so,
yeah,
so what made you jump from Ridgecrest to Orange County? You met Mike, you went to this,
yeah,
sort of superstar retreat. You came back to the office in Ridgecrest. You had all these gift baskets because you were so inspiring on stage, and you met all these great people. But where was the transition from Ridgecrest to Orange County?
well, sitting down with Mike Ferry, he posed a very important question to me. He said, when are you planning on moving? And I said, well, I told my Aunt Kathy I would definitely move within 2 years. And at that time, I had just gotten a builder business, and I just bought my second home in Ridgecrest and everything. And he said something that really got my attention. He said, Lori, there's never a good time to make, there's never going to be a good time for you to move. There's always going to be something. And I went, wow, you're right. And that's when I just said, no matter what's going to happen, I have to do this. I have always felt there's a calling in my life. And that may sound a little hokey, but I feel my life is guided. And I just felt that everything was coming into place at the time, that it was meant for me to, be at that place and to be up on that stage and to talk to my Aunt Kathy and to leave. And I went around to all the different brokers around the country, and I chose Laguna Niguel, California. And I'm so grateful I did. And I've never looked back.
Wow.
So it's been amazing. And I really think it's sales is all mental. When I was selling in Ridgecrest, the average days on market was 6 months. And this was when it was a really hot market in Los Angeles, Orange County. But in Ridgecrest, it took a long time to sell these $65,000 properties.
Sure.
So when I came to Orange County and the market was starting to fall, and that was back in 1989, and I heard, in the office, all the agents were complaining because they were no longer order takers. It was taking a while to sell properties. It was starting to take a while. But I thought it was the best market ever. I mean, I thought it was incredible. So I just started volunteering to do open houses for all the realtors because I didn't have any business. I didn't know anyone in this
Right.
area. And I did an open house every day, and I door knocked around.
Mhm.
And then I sold my first property within the first week, and then it just catapulted.
And Lori,
And
when you're door knocking, what's the message for somebody like you who hasn't done any business? You literally
yeah,
just showed up. You came down from up above into Laguna Niguel, and here's the dynamo that is Lori McGuire. You've certainly had a great deal of experience up in with the other community that you came from. But what's your message when you door knock in a situation like that?
I always door knocked around solds or listings, or around open houses I was going to be doing. So
Mhm.
I always came with information, but I twisted a script that I had learned, and it was like, when do you plan on moving? How long have you lived here? Where did you move from? If you were to move, where would you go? Where would you move to? And when would that be? It's just like
Yeah.
ingrained in my brain right now
Right.
because
Right.
I did it so many times. But I would
Yeah.
twist it around so it's like, oh, I just want to let you know I'm doing an open house around the corner, and I'll probably be getting a lot of activity. And I'm just wondering when you're planning on making a move. So
Yeah.
I would kind of kid around with people and everything, but I'd be very direct. So
Yeah.
it was just never open-ended questions.
Mhm.
And people would respond to that. And I would never give up. And when I was at the open houses back then, you young people, we didn't have the internet. So we had crisscross directories. So I would bring the crisscross directory, and I would call the neighbors who I wasn't able to get in touch with. And I would say, hey, I just want to let you know I'm at such and such address, and I would love you to stop on by. And I'm going to be here from such and such, time. And then I would go into the script with them when it wasn't busy, because during the week, sometimes you don't get a lot of people. But
Right.
during the week with open houses, a lot of times you get corporate people, which is
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. And so at these open houses, would you have people sign in?
Actually, I didn't really work that way. I do appreciate when people do have people sign in, but I
Mhm.
worked it a way where I would just follow them and ask them lots of qualifying questions to build rapport.
Yeah.
In fact, my very first sal, which was the first week, I still remember the name, Bruce Crapmaker. And because he really made a tremendous difference in my business. He was a relocation buyer for Baxter. It was Baxter Healthcare at the time, and now it's
Yeah.
called Edwards Division
Uh-huh.
in Irvine. And he told me, right away, they give all their relocation business to first team real estate, not to cold bankers. So I was like, oh, that's great, wonderful. Well, let me show you around. And so I just showed him everything. And then I asked him all these questions, even though I'd only been there for a few days in Orange County. I really didn't know a lot, but
Yeah.
I just asked him, oh, have you seen this area? Have you seen that area? Because I think it's so very important to know when you're doing an open house, to know all the different neighborhoods that those buyers may be going to.
Sure.
And especially like with open houses, back then there wasn't the internet. So if they were driving to a open house, many times they would drive to neighborhoods that may be a little bit more expensive than what they could afford.
Yeah.
So it's important to know the pricing, the neighborhoods in that were a little less expensive as well, but then to know all of them. So I had like cheat sheets for everything, because I had a personal assistant already at the office who was doing everything for me, because I negotiated that with the broker, that they got me a personal assistant.
Yeah.
So to make a long story short, I just, asked him lots of qualifying questions. And I said at the very end, I said, you really owe it to yourself, because I understood that his wife was coming into town that weekend to start looking at areas. And I said, you owe it to yourself to get at least another agent to show you around, because I know that you already are meeting with this one, but I would love the opportunity to meet you and your wife and give you a tour. And I will never pressure you. If you decide that you want to continue working with this other realtor, I will honor that completely.
Sure.
And but this is the type of information I'm going to be providing you. I'm very thorough, and I even gave him a little packet and everything. And he said, "Oh, okay, well, very good." And I even got his information down, and I followed up with him that night. And he said, "I'm about to call my wife, and then I'll call you back." And sure enough, I was able to set an appointment with them for that weekend after the other agent. And I had a gift basket ready at the hotel for them. I picked them up at the hotel, gave them a grand tour. I even got lost a couple times, but I said, "Oh, I just want you to know I'm just pointing out this area, Nagel Shores, because you're going to hear about it from your friends. It's very popular, but I'm pointing it out. I'm doing a U-turn around because I want you to know that I'm not showing you this area, because even though it's by the beach, they're older homes and you would
Yeah.
not be interested." So every time I got lost, I explained,
You justified getting lost as if you were doing it intentionally.
yes, I had to. And so to make a long story short, with Bruce Krattenmaker, they said, Bruce and Kathleen, they said they were going to think about everything and they were going to call me the next morning. And they called me the next morning. They said, hands down, we've worked with so many realtors. We've never known someone who has been so experienced in an area. And I'd only been there a couple days, but I
Yeah.
had studied it. So I got their business. Oh, I sold them the house, and it was a challenging escrow.
Uh-huh.
And so they wrote a letter to Baxter Healthcare, to the HR department. They said, we want Lori McGuire to get all the relocation business. And he was one of the head people, one of the like vice presidents.
Yeah.
From that point on, I got over 120 relocations.
That's incredible. And you basically applied the the Four Seasons experience to the brokerage business, because you rolled out the red carpet and you treated Bruce and his wife
Yes.
like royalty. Like there was no other client in the world, because in Lori McGuire's world, there literally was no other
There
client.
was no other client.
Yeah. But it's interesting because even after 27 years, I still take people around the city and I know where I'm going. But sometimes I'll be in a conversation, we'll be walking down the street, and next thing you know, we're on the wrong street. We're on 27th Street instead of 26th Street, and I'll say, "Geez, this doesn't make sense," because we're in the wrong place, because I'm in a conversation with them, so I'm not paying attention. The only difference is we're not in a car, because here we are in the city, so it's very difficult to drive around in many cases. So we're walking, and I'll have to start to sort of justify why we walked down 27th Street instead of 26th Street. So I do a lot of the same things. And so from Mr. Crapmaker, you went on to greater success thanks to his 100+ referrals. But in between there, did you have any struggles earlier in that Laguna Niguel market, aside from Bruce and that win?
Oh, yes. I mean, with that relocation business, that happened for quite a few years, and I was still working. I was still door knocking. I always believed in door knocking. I believed in doing open houses. So because the 100 and something reloads was maybe 2 reloads a month, and I wanted to keep a mindset of selling 70 homes a year. I wanted to, go up to 100 and something homes a year. So I was still the first one in the office and the last one to leave, even in Orange County. And then the market started going down in the early 90s. There wasn't as much relocation business. And I did Baxter relocation business for a long period of time. So that over 100 reloads was for a very long period of time. So then I really had to go after the REO business. And I flew to Texas to meet with Freddie Mac. And then I was able to get their business. So thank goodness that got me through the hard times. But I've always been
what did you attribute your ability to win over Freddie Mac's business?
I kept calling. I kept calling and calling and calling. I called every single number I could. And then I finally just brought my assistant out there and I said, we're going to go out to the Freddie Mac headquarters. And
so you literally just cold called them?
Yeah, cold called them. Yeah.
And did you have a contact when you went out to Texas?
I had a couple. So yeah. And then I showed up, and then I just walked around there. They were all in cubicles and everything. And they let me in the door. And I was able to convince one of them to that I could take them out to lunch.
Okay.
So, yeah, and it worked out really well. And then my business started continuing to go up and up and up. And I never thought it would go down. I never had a year, Josh, that my income went down for, until the Great Recession. Yeah. So that's when I really felt the pain. I kept buying up and up, and I bought bigger houses, and my goal was then to break into the luxury end. So back in 2004, I was selling some luxury, but I wasn't specializing in luxury. So I bought a 6,700 square foot estate in a neighborhood where I really wanted to specialize in luxury. And it was just me and my 2 dogs, but I thought, I am going to work this estate, and I'm going to break into the luxury. So I bought this property. And
how much, just for context, how much was the estate?
Oh, I bought it for $2.8 million.
And what community was this in, Lori?
It's Ocean Ranch in Laguna Niguel, California.
Yeah.
But like my first, I still had boxes and everything, and I was trying to hide the boxes. And my first event for the neighborhood was a wine tasting party for the women, because I thought I need to win over the wives.
Yeah.
And so we had a great time. And then I started throwing these more and more events. I started a book club in the neighborhood, then a movie club. And then I was known for my Halloween parties. So I started throwing Halloween parties in my home, and over 300 people would show up. And I had Cirque du Soleil performers.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. No,
it was a literal circus.
Yeah, no, it's Cirque du Soleil performers twirling off the balconies. I had a custom made plexiglass type cover for my pool. It was all catered, um, valet, everything. Everyone wanted an invitation to my Halloween parties because they were so well known in Orange County. And I did that for many, many years. And then
I'm sorry, Lori, how did you get the word out for these events?
oh, I invited my entire neighborhood because I wanted to get business in the high end, and then invited my entire neighborhood and then the neighborhood adjacent,
Mhm.
and then all my past clients, all my
Sure.
clients. And then the next year it got bigger. I had even more acrobats and performers and everything. And then it even got on television on
Wow.
a reality show called Top This Party with Lifetime Channel. Not Topless Party, Top This Party. Yeah. And then I did the week after of every party, we would turn it around and we would do a maze going through my entire house into the backyard for all the kids. So we did a haunted house, and it would attract over 1,500 kids every year.
Yeah.
So my haunted houses were really huge as well. But it was crazy because I had to start decorating the home in July for October with all
Wow.
the props and everything.
That's crazy. So you're looking at July, August, 4 months
Oh yeah,
just to
no,
get the house in shape for this one event.
yeah. What a wonderful, crazy life.
And so what was the result of these parties? Did
Oh,
they
I
did they bear
really
the
got,
fruit that you were really seeking?
yeah, I broke into the high end for sure. I definitely started dominating the neighborhood and just a lot of the high end market.
Hmm.
And yeah, I really loved what I did, but I was really stressed out because of my house all the time. And then I was able to expand my business. I never turned down the lower end business. I still did lower end properties because of where I came from with starting in real estate in Ridgecrest, selling
Yeah,
$65,000 homes. So I still think like a $400,000 property, those people are still really special. So
absolutely.
yeah, Josh.
Because sometimes you'll have these people start off in $65,000 homes, but then they'll go on to the, two, three, four, and more $1 million homes. You just
Oh
you just
yeah.
never know. And what I found is that everyone knows someone else. So just because somebody's buying a single or a double wide trailer doesn't mean that they don't know other people who are buying and selling $1 million homes. And so some of my biggest deals have started off with some of my seemingly smallest.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I'm not crazy about selling mobile homes, though. I can say that there are a lot of work with the DMV and all that stuff,
Yeah.
but I agree with you. And I always am surprised when I hear people say, "Oh, I thought you only specialized in high end." I said, "Like, no, we don't. We do every price point, and we do
Right.
all of Orange County.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
but what happened to me is I started spending money, a lot of money, because I was doing really well. And I started doing promotions with security guards, and I bought a Lamborghini Gallardo. And anytime someone would sell one of our listings, the agent, the seller, they would get a night on the town and dinner for two, um, and be able to use the Lamborghini Gallardo. And they
Oh.
would like rent it out.
Uh-huh.
And then if security guards, sent business our way, and it resulted in a sale, because there are a lot of gated communities around here, they would get a night on the town and dinner for two in the Lamborghini Gallardo. And that is a thrill for security guards because they see them come into
Sure.
the gated communities all the time. I
Yeah.
hardly ever drove the Lamborghini because it was like it didn't have power steering and all that. So I, I drove it maybe probably once a month, twice a month. Um,
Okay.
but I had the Lamborghini, I had a Maserati quadriporte, a Range Rover. I had this huge estate. I had a beach house, and I was just expanding and expanding and expanding too quickly.
Yeah.
And
What year was this for us?
oh my gosh, this was 2005, 2006.
Yeah. So it was like prime time. Everything was looking really good around 2005,
Oh yeah,
2006. The
yeah.
market was hot, hot, hot.
I thought it was unstoppable, you know?
Yeah.
And I had refinanced my home. And so the mortgage went up to 2.8 million, which I originally bought it for. And because the value went up to 4 million, 4.1
Right.
million. So I bought other properties and everything with it.
Hmm.
And then all of a sudden the Great Recession hit.
Hmm.
And I was just treading water. It was the scariest thing, the most
So was
stressful.
this as early as 2007 when the trouble started, or was it really 2008?
2007, I was still doing pretty well. It really hit me in 2008 was
Hmm.
when I started feeling it.
Hmm.
And in 2008, my mortgage, my total taxes, mortgage, everything on my house was 20,000 a month.
Wow.
But I was bringing in a lot of money in my
Sure.
business.
Yeah.
And then my income was cut in half. And I was I never thought I was really ego driven because I was always very nice to everyone. I always thought that way. And but it was it was really difficult for me to lay off people. It took me years to lay off people.
Yeah.
And I knew I should have downsized right away because of things that were happening. But I think I I've always been like, oh, I could just work harder, and I'll get out of this.
Yeah.
And I couldn't. And I let my ego, like I said, get in the way where I stayed too long in that house. And
Sure.
I ended up having to short sell it
Wow.
in my farm area, and it was a real blow to me emotionally. And
Had you ever considered, Lori, selling the house?
oh
You
yeah,
know,
I tried to.
when you
Yeah,
refied it, like, when it appraised for $4 million, did you say, did a little,
no,
voice inside of your
no, I
head say, oh, maybe
refinanced
I
and
should
bought
sell it?
other properties. That's when I refinanced it. But
Yeah.
when the market was going down, I put it on the market. I did
Right.
put it on the market, but I started out at 4 million.
Yeah.
And I got offers at 3 million,
Hmm.
2.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh my gosh, that's ridiculous. That's too low. And then, like, overnight, the property value went down $1 million because there was one short sell in the neighborhood that sold $1 million less than me,
Wow.
basically. And
Wow.
everything
Yeah.
happened.
Yeah.
So I was using my own money to support the business. I charged up my credit cards $500,000. It was absolutely insane, the
Wow.
amount of stress I was going under. And I did it to myself.
Yeah.
I'm to blame.
Yeah.
And I also was going through a lot of pain and stress because my two very best friends passed away, and then I had other friends who killed themselves
Because
that
of
I
all the pressure having
country.
to
Yeah.
do with the recession. Yeah. It was like
Yes. And
everybody was falling under this financial pressure,
oh, it
and
was like a
people were like,
bloodbath out there.
checking out. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And you may remember that, Josh. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sure you do.
Yeah.
And then my two dogs, they passed away too during that time. It was just absolutely crazy. And I got to the
Wow.
point where I was taking Xanax just
Hmm.
to get out of bed
Yeah.
because I was so stressed. I was always
Right.
shaking and I didn't know. And I was trying to keep up this front that I was okay because I needed to be the leader of my
Yeah.
team
Yeah.
and with in front of my clients and everything.
Sure.
But inside, I was absolutely crumbling.
Yeah.
And I was never a drinker or a drug abuser or anything like that. But I remember, well, I don't really remember much, but there was, I guess, a night where uh, I just wanted to not be stressed,
Yeah.
and I wanted to just sleep, and
Hmm.
I wasn't thinking rationally, and I drank a bottle of wine, and I started taking too much Xanax, and that was totally unlike me.
Wow.
Um, I was started becoming a person I didn't recognize anymore,
Huh.
and thank goodness I um, I must have text messaged people. I blacked out, and all of a sudden, the paramedics came to my house, and I was put on a 72-hour hold. It was that
Wow.
embarrassing, but thank goodness. I mean, thank goodness.
Yeah.
So, and then my parents told me I was texting them, and I wasn't not making sense.
Hmm.
And I've always been like the strong person in the family,
Yeah.
out of my siblings and everything. So for
Right.
me to reach rock bottom, and I thought that had been my rock bottom, but it really hadn't been.
Huh.
And then I got out of that, and I went back to work, and I was embarrassed, and I'm sure the neighbors were wondering what was going on, but I continued staying in the house, and I was trying to support the house and while selling it. And then I finally short sold it, and then I moved into a small condo I owned that was 1,630 square feet instead of 6,730 square feet.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was really a shock, but I moved into it, and I was, thank goodness, it was right next to a hiking trail, and
Mhm.
I knew I had to get into, hiking and being with nature, and I thought I was doing really well. And then the same episode happened again, and I overdosed. And
Wow.
I swear I wasn't a drug abuser or anything, but I really recommend never take Xanax,
Yeah.
because it just does with me. I don't react well with Xanax.
Yeah.
So I found myself on another 72-hour hold a couple years later.
Hmm.
And that is when I realized I had to change my life. It
Yeah.
was, yeah, when I was released from that, I checked myself into a 30-day post-traumatic stress disorder program in Arizona, in Tucson, Arizona, and they
Mhm.
treat other things too. But
Mhm.
I was there for post-traumatic stress disorder, and it was the best thing that ever happened to me.
Wow.
And then I came back and I really worked on me being a human being, not a human doing.
Yeah.
And I stayed in that condo for 9 years, even though I could
Wow.
afford a much more expensive home because my income surpassed what I had been doing way before even,
Wow.
because market kind of came back and we were doing much better. I grew my team. But my soul was saying, no, I don't want to even buy another house. I want to stay in this condo. I love the trail.
Mhm.
And I just didn't want to be the person I used to be.
Yeah.
But then I fell in love with the home that I'm in now, and it's right on the trail where I have
Oh,
trail
no
access.
kidding. Wow.
But
So your patience paid off, and
yeah, it was all
you
meant
lived
to be.
well within your means for the better part of 10 years, and you came back stronger than ever because you're resilient, you're a fighter, you have a
Oh,
work
thanks.
ethic that is second to none. But along the way, Lori, you bought all this investment property. So tell us
Yeah.
a little bit about that. What was the first investment property that you bought, and what encouraged you to buy more of it?
Okay. Well, I did buy some investment properties, when I first got into real estate, and then I've sold them. And I've always been a believer in investing.
Hmm.
But this next time around, I knew I needed to rebuild my wealth, because I'd pretty much lost almost everything.
Yeah.
So right away, I knew I needed to get into multifamily
Hmm.
because multifamily investing I felt would protect me, if there was another recession. And I bought in previous years, I bought a lot of single family residence. And when I had vacancies, they really hurt me.
Hmm.
So in 2012, I was listening to a lot of podcasts, and listening to Bigger Pockets, the Tom Ferry podcast, all that.
Yeah.
And I knew I needed to, I wanted to get back into coaching. I wanted to get back into being smart about investing. And I'd already started building my wealth back. So I owned a condo. It was like a VRBO in Big Bear that never went up in value for 10 years.
Wow.
And
And
so
was that because it was a vacation market, or was it specific to Big Bear, or what?
vacation market, and I had put $110,000 into improving it, and it was just it didn't do anything.
Yeah.
It's probably was Big Bear probably too, and someone gave me an offer on the property. A realtor just called me up and said, "Hey, they'll buy it for 550," and I said,
Okay.
"Great."
Yeah.
So I knew I needed to do a 1031 exchange, and
Hmm.
I started researching what were the best areas out of state
Yeah.
because California wasn't penciling out as an investor. and
Mhm.
I knew I wanted multifamily, and it wasn't penciling out. So I
Now,
started
now,
looking.
I'm sorry. Hang on one second. So
Sure.
California wasn't penciling out, right?
Yeah.
And California, though, was the market that you presumably knew and
Yeah.
loved,
No,
right?
very well.
I mean, you kind of grew up there, really.
Orange County.
So,
Yeah.
and you built this, incredible business in Orange County, and yet you're saying that it didn't pencil out for investors. So, why didn't it pencil out?
Because the cap rates, the rate of return on my money wasn't going to be there, and I would be lucky for like a cap rate, cash on cash return on my money, my investment. I'd be lucky to get 4%,
Mhm.
3%, 4%. In out of state areas, I was able to get 8%
Wow.
in certain states.
Mhm.
And I also looked for landlord friendly states.
Mhm. When you say
And
landlord friendly, can you be more specific?
yes, where if someone wasn't paying, I could
Mhm.
get them out a lot quicker.
Meaning how quickly?
Oh gosh, like within 30 days. Like
Okay.
it would be postponed and postponed and postponed, like 90 days, 120 days. And
As compared to, have you had some experiences with, let's say, less optimal tenants in less landlord-friendly states, like presumably California?
yes,
What's that experience like when somebody winds up being a little difficult?
yeah. I mean, in California, I've had experience with mainly my clients have had issues. My own properties, I didn't really have a lot of issues, but I had a couple where they were trying to say that there was mold when there really wasn't mold, and all,
Yeah,
I mean, just different things. So very Sue happy
yeah.
here in California, and in other states, I have not seen that at all, and I've
Hmm.
been investing out of state since 2018. So it's been 4 years.
Yeah,
So but I just know it's a lot. It's definitely leans more towards the tenant
yeah.
than the owner.
Right.
And
And
in
so,
others,
you did this research and you found these states that were more landlord friendly, more accommodating in the event that you had situations where you needed to get people out.
yes.
And so, just based on that, what did you come up with in terms of some of the alternative markets?
Well, I also, Josh, I looked into states where there was no income tax, state
Hmm.
income tax, in case if I ever decide to retire, maybe I'd want to live there and live off the income from my
Hmm.
investment properties.
And I'm curious, Lori. Speaking of no income tax states, was this before, during, or after the Trump administration repealed the state and local tax deduction, also known as the SALT deduction?
This was actually 2018. So
Mhm.
it was, gosh, during.
Kind
Yeah.
of right around the same time. I was just wondering, like, what made this light bulb go off?
Yeah. So it was during. And I just, I thought, well, I could keep that in my back pocket.
Hmm.
And also, I wanted to make sure that the state that I invested in didn't have high property taxes. So I was leaning towards Texas at one time, but they have high property taxes. So I kind of went, nope, I'm not going to go there.
It's the
And
same thing, from what I understand, Lori, in Florida, right? Some of these states that have no state income tax will make up for it in disproportionately high property taxes.
yes, but I found in Tennessee, their property taxes are actually lower than in other states.
Huh.
So yeah, I I researched a lot of different areas, and then I chose Tennessee. That was
Okay.
my yeah, and
Was that your one and only, or were there others
no,
like Nevada or Wyoming?
I was looking at Nevada.
Hmm.
I was looking at Alabama.
Hmm.
I was looking at Texas at one time.
Yeah.
Florida. I was
Hmm.
looking, yeah, but something really strange happened. There was a broker, the real estate broker that I called on a apartment complex in San Clemente in my area because I was just
Hmm.
curious, and it had sold, and he asked me if I'd ever considered buying out of state? I said, yeah, it so happens that's what I'm leaning towards. And he said, well, I have a broker's license in Tennessee as well. I went, oh my gosh, this is so bizarre.
Right.
And so I told him that if he has any great properties to send them my way, because I want to see how they look. And within a day, I was under contract with my first 16 apartment complex.
You know, that's crazy because earlier in our conversation, Lori, you said you believe in, you know, the universe sort of having things line up for you.
Absolutely.
And so with Aunt Kathy bringing you into the business where you're on a, you know, clear path that was going to lead to a place of no return, Kathy rescued you. You went and worked with her for 2 years. And then, you know, you went and met Mike Ferry. And then this light bulb moment went off and said, hey, I need to get out of this community and into a place where I can earn more money, where there's a higher average price. You wound up in Orange County. And then you decided to look in these low and no tax states. You wound up sort of focusing in on Tennessee. Then you met this other broker who, you know, by divine intervention was licensed in Tennessee. So that's remarkable. And so you bought this 16-unit building, and then what happened?
I got hooked. I mean, with 16 doors, I bought it for $730,000. Wow. Whereas I sold my Big Bear condo, which was on the lake, but it was $550,000. Wow. And today, that 16 unit, which I bought for $730,000, is now about $1.4 million. But from there, I got hooked, and then I bought a fourplex right after I closed escrow on that one. It seems like I'm in escrow at all times in Tennessee. And I've also branched out to Georgia, even though they do have state income tax, because where I buy in Georgia is just a mile and a half across the Tennessee line, which is really close to Chattanooga. So my property management company can still manage my properties there.
Yeah. So talk to us a little bit about property management, because that's something that a lot of investors struggle with.
Yeah.
Is finding a good property manager,
Huge.
Bringing it in-house. How does one do that? And so talk to us about your path and experience in property management specifically.
Yeah. Okay. So when I bought my first property, I'm still with the same property management company that I started with in 2018, but I really had to show them how I wanted them to work for me. And I demand like an update every single week on my properties. So they give me like a whole breakdown. I can go on their website and see what's happening, but I like to see, like, I get a spreadsheet, and then I have a Zoom call with my main representative and then the owner of the company. And that's generally every other week. And we just go over the future leases that are coming up for the next month. We go over any challenges, contractors, vendors, how long it's taking to turn the properties, because I expect within 48 hours of a vacancy that I get photos and the estimates. And at one time it was taking almost a week. And I just said, no, you can't do that. Because my goal is to get to 200 doors, and they're not going to keep my business if that's going to happen. So now they're like right on top of it. And as whenever I have 100% occupancy, and a lot of times I do have 100% occupancy, I bonus my main representative with her Zelle account. So I give her like hundreds of dollars, and so I'm bonusing her all the time. So she's really excited. And but I really speak my word. I'm always saying, no, I need this to happen. I'm on top of it. I'll fly out there and meet with the people, but I don't need to fly out there a lot. And now I buy properties without me flying out there. So my real estate broker will send me the information, do a video, and then he'll go on the home inspection for me. It may be like a 27-plex or something. And he'll go through each unit and video it. And then I will cross-reference it with the home inspection. But I go overboard. I order every kind of inspection. But it's really important that you know in each area what to look for, because I was ordering termite inspections, and they don't, in termite inspections, they don't go through like dry rot in
Huh.
Tennessee.
Okay.
Whereas in California, dry rot is a Section 1 item. So it's
Yeah.
important.
Yeah.
Tennessee, it's not.
Huh.
So my first couple of properties, I was like looking, I wasn't as careful, and I was just, oh, there's no fumigation that needs to be done. Okay.
Yeah.
But then I discovered there was a whole bunch of dry rot. And I'm like, what the
Wow. Yeah.
And so now I'm like, no, I need to see dry rot. I mean,
Yeah.
you learn as you go along. I've been learning.
Sure.
Like I bought, let's see here, it was what one was it? It was a 22 plex in a flood zone.
Wow.
And
Did you not realize it was in a flood zone?
no, I found out it was in a flood zone, but then I researched it and there hadn't been a flood in 80 years. So I thought, okay, well, I'm going to be paying extra for the flood insurance. But the likelihood of there being a flood is low. Well, there were hurricanes last year, and it didn't flood once, it flooded twice within a week.
And these are sort of like garden apartments with the first floor
Yeah.
unit.
The first floor, second floor, but in two different buildings. But one building was hit, just the ground level, and the insurance covered it, obviously. But so I only paid about $10,000 out of pocket out of it. And then the second time it flooded, it since we put in all new flooring and everything, it really didn't account too much. And then I ended up paying $10,000 in storm drains all around. So hopefully that's going to. Oh,
so like French drains and
so
pumps and all that.
You know what? I'm still learning. I am still learning.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's incredible. And so in the last 4 years, right? So you've been
4 years.
Focused on these multi-unit, multifamily investments in Tennessee and Georgia for the last 4 years. How many doors do you have today?
141.
Wow, 141. So you're well under your 200 units, huh?
Yeah, I really love it. I enjoy it so much, but I still have no plans on retiring in real estate. I love, still running my team and 35 years in the business. It's amazing.
Wow. So it's incredible. You really reinvented yourself coming out of the recession. And, while you definitely had your challenges and having to sell your great estate, you went on to, bigger and better, stronger production, more beautiful house, right where you want it to be, right on the trail. And, you're accomplishing all your dreams as far as the investment side of your business is concerned. So it's really sort of a multifaceted empire that you're running there, Lori. And so it's a remarkable story of, sort of rebirth, new growth. And it's really all about your mindset. As you said, sales and success in general is really just all about how you look at things.
Yeah.
And so no matter what the market conditions are, there are opportunities, and it's really a matter of us tuning into where, the opportunities are and how to take advantage of them.
Yeah, I really believe that. And that's what I try to stress to my team. I don't like the word try. I stress to my team every day. We have to love what we're doing and know that we are the best at what we're doing, and we are making a difference in people's lives every single day. And when I talk about things happen for a reason, I do believe it's God's power that, hopefully he's working through me. And I'm not a holy roller or anything, but I really believe that there's no mistakes in life. And I am so proud of my team, and I love to be educating at all times. That's what keeps me in the business, because if I can help the next generation and, accomplish their goals and their dreams, then that is huge. Because this business has been so amazing to me. And I know I've made a lot of mistakes, and I love to help, especially younger people, and just say, get out of your ego as much as you can, because that's the thing that can get in the way. That got in the way.
Yeah. Well, they say that ego is the enemy, right? And so
yes.
I always tell people we need to check our ego at the door, focus on the objective, and, make progress. And like you said, we are impacting lives every day and helping people achieve their goals. So with that, Lori, I so appreciate you taking the time and sharing your experience. It's really a remarkable story of, success, failure, learning from your mistakes, a work ethic, tenacity, and reinvention. So with that, Lori McGuire, thanks so much.
Thank you, Josh. It's been a pleasure.
Pleasure's all.
Hi, it's Josh Rubin with the Rubin team.